We're in Psalm 14. This is a psalm where David is rehearsing foolishness. What does it mean to be a fool? And the fool says, he says in verse 1, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Foolishness in the Bible is just silly selfishness. It is vanity. It is living for utterly selfish and self-centered purposes and for folly. You'll see a lot of times the concept of foolishness is married to folly. And just the premise of the existence of foolishness means that life has value and you have value and time has value and there's a reason to live today. So it's foolish to say there is no God. And from that vantage point, from that foundational presumption or declaration, it's kind of an anything goes life. There is no value, there's no significance, there's no purpose or meaning. So live life for yourself and live life for your own gratification. But no, there's a different way to live life. And that's a little bit of what David is driving at. So the fool says there is no God. Because of that, they are corrupt. They have done abominable works, and there's none that doeth good. You know, there is a sense in this verse in which all of us are guilty, okay? I'm a follower of God. I love God, and I'm a follower of Jesus, and I believe in him. But how many times in my life have I lived as though there were no God? How many times in my life have I struggled to trust him? Or, you know, in some sense, every time I sin, I am behaving as though there is no God or there is no accountability. Every time I'm living selfishly, I'm living foolishly. I'm living ignorant or naive or willfully ignoring the identity and the existence of God and the ruling lordship of God in my life. And so there are literal atheists who do not believe in God, but then there are functional, practical atheists, and that's all of us who tend at times to live as though God is not a part of our lives. Well, verse 2, the Lord looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand and seek God. They are all gone aside. They're all together become filthy. There's none that doeth good, no, not one. That's also quoted in Romans 3, and we know Romans to be one of the great accounts of the gospel of Jesus. And so, going back all the way to the Old Testament, God wants us to understand the foundation of our relationship with him is not us seeking him, it's him seeking us. It's him coming for us. It's him wanting us. And really, I bring nothing. In my most basic essence, I am not a creature that's going to bring anything to God, and I'm not going to, on my own, seek after him. One author said it this way from these verses: you can know if you desire God, that is evidence of the fact that he desires you. He put that desire in your heart. We might call that common grace, a grace that has been bestowed upon all men. The grace of God has appeared unto all men because all need God. All are unrighteous. What these verses teach us is not only that we're all sinful, but that we're all in need of God and that God wants us all. That his heart is to redeem and to forgive and to save us all. Look at verse 4. Have all the workers of iniquity no knowledge? Again, Romans 3 harkens back to this idea. Romans 1, I should say, harkens back to this idea that there is evidence of God. The things which are not seen are made known by the things which are seen. The psalmist said that the heavens declare the glory of God. We're surrounded by enough evidence. We have plenty of knowledge. So it's a rhetorical question. Do these foolish people who have given themselves over to sin, the workers of iniquity, which is all of us, especially before salvation, have the workers of iniquity no knowledge? Can you claim ignorance? No, we can never claim that God didn't give us enough evidence. No, there is plenty of evidence as to the existence of God, not only his existence, but as to his goodness and his grace and his love to the fact that he is a good God, that he's a beautiful God, that he's a creative God, that he's a loving God. It's all around us. Even I am fearfully and wonderfully made, the psalm says. So have all the workers of iniquity no knowledge? And look what they do. Look what is the quality or the character of a person who lives as though there is no God. He says, who eat up my people. Now that's a reference probably to Israel or any followers of God, who eat up my people as they eat bread and call not upon the Lord. Warren Wiersbe said it this way: they prey on people rather than praying to God. And what a contrast, and play on words there, praying, P-R-E-Y, and pray to God, P-R-A-Y. But what a contrast in the sense that when I fail to really put my trust in my God as my protector, my provider, the director of my life, the sovereign of all of my existence, that I'm resting in him and trusting in him. When I'm not praying to God, then I'm probably going to be praying, P-R-E-Y, upon people, especially upon those that are weaker than me, or more vulnerable than me, or more susceptible than me. And that is truly what the life without God is. We see that all over planet Earth, that people are suffering, especially followers of God are suffering in many places on this planet at the hands of those who deny his existence. And we can only expect that to grow worse and worse as man builds systems that are godless and ideologies that are godless, and as planet Earth continues to spin out of control in spiritual ways. We can expect that those systems will take more and more advantage of us, God's people, people that trust him and follow him and believe in him. So my friend, let me encourage you today to meditate on these ideas that we live in a world. We live, no surprise, in a godless world, okay? But that in no sense diminishes our purpose, our value to God, his presence and active purposes in our lives, and the fact that we are here on assignment for him. We're here on assignment, waiting on him to step in. In fact, that's the next verse. They were in great fear, okay? The next verse is God stepping in. In fact, let's just finish with that verse, okay? So these people that are eating up, exploiting, taking advantage of, not calling upon the Lord, suddenly in verse 5 are in great fear. For God is in the generation of the righteous. When you know Jesus and you're following God, God's presence is in you. His purposes are unfolding through you. And there's going to be a moment where he's going to intervene. And suddenly, the fact that you are in his care as the righteous judge of the universe is going to be clear. And those that have rejected him and that are going to be the object of his judgment, they will stand. Those overconfident, belligerent, power-holding, oppressing people are going to be standing in great fear. So let me challenge you today to do what verse 4 says, call upon the Lord. And let me encourage you to have a heart of compassion towards those who are standing apart from God as though he does not exist and saying there is no God, because they are one fraction of a second away from everything coming undone in their lives. And that's a great reason today to try to share the gospel with somebody, to give them a done book, invite them to church, give them a link to a gospel message or to the done books on video or audio, or just to simply sit down over coffee and say, let me share with you what God has taught me and done in my life. Could I take a few minutes and tell you why Jesus matters to me? I have a phone call to return to a man that I pray I can share the gospel with today. And I hope you'll pray with me along those lines as well. So my friend, we're surrounded by a world that says there's no God, but we know him and we can hope in him today. We can call out to him today in whatever needs we have. We're waiting for him to intervene. And until then, we're on mission with him. And so happy Wednesday. I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me for Enough for Today.